When it comes to mid-size three-row family SUVs, consumers have a ton of good choices to pick from on the marketplace. And about 2 years ago, Nissan threw their latest hat into the ring when the company introduced the all-new 5th generation version of the Pathfinder. As you guys know, when this vehicle was redesigned, it got an all-new boxy, more masculine styling direction. It also got an all-new interior with a new tech interface, and it got a new transmission paired up with that naturally aspirated V6 engine. Now for 2024, the Pathfinder stays pretty much the same, but I've had an opportunity to drive all the latest competitions. So this week, as you can see, Nissan has loaned me the latest 2024 Pathfinder Rock Creek, which means this is the more off-road capable version, courtesy of a 0.6-inch suspension lift, these Toyo open country all-terrain tires, and a unique design on the outside and the inside. So if you guys have been looking for a three-row family SUV and you want something that's a little bit more traditional, how does the 2024 Nissan Pathfinder stack up? Stay tuned to find out. Now, before we start talking about the styling changes for the Rock Creek edition, I thought I'd pop the hood and show you guys what's powering the 2024 Pathfinder. Now, unlike some competitors where they offer a plethora of different engine choices, Nissan keeps it simple, and they continue to keep it simple with just one engine option, a 3.5-liter naturally aspirated V6. And in a world full of electrification and engine downsizing, to find a naturally aspirated 3.5-liter V6 is definitely becoming more and more rare, which is why the Pathfinder is the more traditional choice. Now, this is part of the Nissan's VQ engine family. It's the VQ35 with direct injection. It makes 295 horsepower in this application and 270 pound-feet of torque. That's an increase of 11 ponies and 11 pound-feet of torque compared to other trims of the Pathfinder. That's because this engine is tuned to run on premium fuel. It's recommended for those numbers, and it's also the same output that you'll find in this car's luxury cousin, the Infiniti QX60. Now, the big news for this all-new generation is the CVT is gone, replaced by a 9-speed automatic transmission built by ZF. And this vehicle is available with either front-wheel drive or for about $2,000 extra, you can get the company's intelligent all-wheel drive system, which they call four-wheel drive, although it's technically all-wheel drive. The Rock Creek comes standard with this intelligent four-wheel drive system. Fuel economy, because of the all-terrain tires and the more boxy front end and different fascia, this model here is rated to get 20 in the city, 23 on the highway. That's on premium gas. It has around an 18.5-gallon fuel tank. You're looking at just under 400 miles of range on a full tank. Nissan doesn't quote a 0 to 60 time, but we've got our testing equipment. We'll see what we can do out in the real world. This vehicle has a top speed of around 120 miles an hour, and the Pathfinder thankfully tows among the highest in the segment at just at around 6,000 pounds, properly equipped. As this vehicle sits, it weighs in at just over 4,600 pounds. But closing the hood, let's go ahead and talk about the styling changes that Nissan has made for the Rock Creek edition. Now, this trim is not new to the Pathfinder family. It was introduced back in 2019 on the previous 4th generation, and Nissan reintroduced it last year for 2023. And for 2024, it stays pretty much the same. As you guys know, this all-new 5th generation got a completely new design. It's still a unibody car-based SUV, so this is not a body-on-frame SUV. We haven't seen a Pathfinder with a body-on-frame design since 2011, I believe. But you can see the Rock Creek gets its own unique front end. All Pathfinders come standard with these full reflector style, or they're not really full, they're reflector style LED headlights where you have LED low and high beams, LED daytime running lights, and you can see down here there's an incandescent turn signal. The Rock Creek has a unique Nissan V-Motion grille with the new Nissan badge here. It's got some black accents with some silver accents. The grille is slightly larger, and the bumper, as you can see, looks a little bit more aggressive. You can see there are some fake designed vents over here where it looks like there'd be a fog light. The LED fog light is actually down here. That's unique to the Rock Creek edition. You have some functional air intake openings, and this vehicle in general just has a much more boxy and more masculine design compared to the minivan looks of the prior generation. Now, moving around to the side profile, you can see the Pathfinder is the company's mid-size SUV, and it has a 114.2-inch long wheelbase, which it shares with all the trims. This Rock Creek, however, is around an inch longer than other Pathfinders at 198.8 inches long. It's on the smaller end of the segment, if you can believe it. There was a time where this length was pretty average, but everyone's kind of over the 200-inch mark. mark. And this vehicle is around 3 inches taller thanks to that roof rail at the top, which I'll show you a closer look at in a moment. You can see the wheel arches have a little bit more of a pronounced fender flare. You have these really aggressive looking 32-inch tall Toyo open country all-terrain tires. They're on a 265/60 R18. You can see the Rock Creek gets a unique 18-inch black finished beadlock style wheel. So you can see it almost looks like it's beadlock capable, but those are just a design piece. And I think the wheels look really great. I love how Nissan put some actual all-terrain tires. They also put an off-road tuned all-independent suspension with a 0.6-inch lift. Now this ground clearance for this trim is around 7.7 inches. It's still low for the segment. In contrast, as Subaru Ascent offers an inch more ground clearance, and an Explorer Timberline also offers nearly an inch more. The Pilot Trail Sport offers around just over 8 inches. So this is still on the lower end, and it also doesn't have any skid plates, so you're not gonna wanna do some crazy serious off-road. You can see there's the Rock Creek badge over here. The mirrors are not power folding. They do include an integrated turn signal, and then you can see here, if you're looking for a sunroof, this trim is not available with a sunroof. I was hoping Nissan would offer a premium package to roll that in. What they do give you, however, is this really more aggressive overlanding style roof rail with crossbars. This will hold up to 220 pounds of dynamic weight, which means you can put that much weight on the SUV when the vehicle is moving. I don't know what the static load is for a roof tent. Now you can see the boxy design theme looks really good with the more overlanding, off-road, aggressive design cues of the Rock Creek. This particular color is called Gunmetallic. It is basically a graphite gray. You can also get it with a two-tone color combination roof if you'd like. And then looking at the rear, you can see the taillights are an LED combination. So the turn signal and reverse light is incandescent. The tail light itself is an LED. You can see all the badges are blacked out with the new Nissan logo. The rear spoiler back here is kind of subtly integrated into the back. And then down here you can see a tow hitch comes standard. Remember I said 6,000 pounds is the max towing capacity, which is a lot for this particular segment of vehicle. Now one area where this vehicle is sorely lacking is the fact that this trim does not have a power liftgate. It is available on the SV trim, standard on the SL and the Platinum trim, but it is not optional on this trim, which is unacceptable considering the price of this vehicle. But when you open up that tailgate, you can see there is an average to below average amount of space. So you can see a third row comes standard where it actually does seat 3 across, so this can seat up to 8 people. You get just over 16.6 cubic feet of storage space with the third row seat up. You can see my tester has these nice little all-weather mats. And you can see there's a nice little underfloor storage area over here. Now this space is usable, but it's also around 4 cubic feet less than the biggest competition like the new Toyota Grand Highlander. If you want, you can also fold down these seats, which are manually folding. Some competitors offer a power folding third row. And then when you fold down these seats here, that expands the cargo to a little over 45 cubic feet of space. If you fold down the second row seats, the middle seats, whatever, that'll expand the cargo to around 80.5 cubic feet. Now 80.5 cubic feet is certainly usable, but if you guys are looking at some of the competition, the Grand Highlander offers around 98 cubic feet of max storage capacity. So the Pathfinder still offers a good amount of space, but again, some competitors which are bigger offer even more storage. So let's go ahead and talk about the interior of this 2024 Nissan Pathfinder. Before we get inside, however, let me show you guys the key fob. You can see Nissan does have a newer fob, which is kind of an evolution of the previous generation fob, but I do like the way this fob looks. It's a nice size. It has their intelligent access key with remote start built in. It's got the new Nissan logo with this kind of silver outline around it. Nissan does offer a digital key function where you can use your phone as a key, but it's a dealer accessory. So you can add it, I believe, for $400 via the dealer, which I don't love. I would prefer that they keep it as a factory option. But this car does have a walkaway auto lock and unlock feature. So right now I'm a little bit further away from the car. As I approach the vehicle with the key fob on me, the door, as you heard, will unlock for you. You can also just touch the back of the door handle or touch that little pad to lock the door. If you guys don't want to have that auto walkaway lock and unlock feature turned on. Now, if you guys want this trim, you better get used to having a dark interior. Nissan only offers it with this black interior, which is kind of like a black leatherette and cloth two-tone with the orange stitching and the Rock Creek badging you'll find on the seats and on the actual center console lid. The orange stitching carries over onto the steering wheel. It's a nice looking interior, but I really want to see other brands offer a lighter color option on these more off-road sport-oriented trims. Not everybody wants wants a black interior. It just gets really dark. These seats are heated, but if you want ventilated seats, you'll have to step up all the way to the Platinum trim. Only the Platinum gets the ventilated seats. If you guys want memory seats, you have to go to an SL. This trim, again, is lacking memory seats, but you do have an 8-way power driver's seat with a 4-way manual on the passenger side. You get 2-way lumbar support. These seats are pretty comfortable and supportive, but again, I really want to see Nissan expand some of the features onto the lower trims. Now you can see, looking at the door panel, you've got a wonderfully soft, actually leather stitched area for this upper portion that kind of extends here, which is great where you rest your elbow. The door handle, you can see, is just plastic accented. Some higher trims, I believe, have some alloy trim, and then you can see it's nice and leather padded here. Window controls are one touch up for all 4, which is nice. No power folding mirrors, like I said, but some of the controls, they feel pretty high quality. Down here, it's hard touch plastic. There's no Bose stereo on this car. You can get a 13-speaker Bose stereo on the SL and the Platinum trim, but I believe in this trim, you only get the Nissan standard audio system, which I can't remember how many speakers it has. But getting inside, you can see it's got a nice, easy step-in height, courtesy of that 7.7 inches of ground clearance as I shut the door. The door has a really solid sounding thunk, which I love. It gives you an impression of quality. Now, looking at the rest of this interior, you can see it's pretty familiar. Nissan has been doing this design in a lot of their products. The start-stop button is right here, where you'd expect it to be. And then when you turn it on, it has the little animation in the instrument panel, which looks cool. You have the typical sound of the company's naturally aspirated V6, which has a nice noise. And then you can see in terms of the tech, the Rock Creek is lacking a little bit because this trim only comes with the 8-inch touchscreen, which includes Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. However, it is a wired connection. As you can see, go to the CarPlay screen. It looks very small. The bigger upgraded screen is a 9-inch display, which is only available on the SL and Platinum trims. That includes wireless CarPlay. And again, Nissan really should be upgrading this to their 12.3-inch display that they are offering on a lot of their newer products. The Altima and the Rogue just got it, for example. So this is looking small. I imagine the Pathfinder will probably get it for 2025. This instrument panel as well is also looking pretty old school. You have a 7-inch helper screen there in the middle. Nissan does offer a fully digital 12-inch display, but only on the Platinum grade. So even the SL isn't available without full digital display. And if you go on a heads-up display, it's only on the Platinum grade as well. So again, a lot of features which are annoyingly, frustratingly only on the highest trim of this vehicle. Now you can see there's some alloy look trim, more leather around this portion of the dash and on this portion of the dash with actual stitching. It's soft touch injection molded plastic up here, which is nice. The steering wheel itself, you can see, has a flat bottom design. It has contrasting stitching. I like how at least it's leather wrapped, includes paddles on the wheel. You have a manual tilt telescoping steering wheel, although this steering wheel itself is not heated. Again, you have to go up to the higher trims to get the heated wheel. The horn, it sounds good. It doesn't sound puny. It sounds appropriate, but also kind of nondescript. The wiper and turn signal stalks, they appear pretty high quality. They're the newer Nissan design. You have dual zone automatic temperature control. Well, actually, technically, it's triple zone automatic temperature control. You can see a lot of empty buttons here. You have 3-level heated seats. This would be where the ventilated seats would be and the heated steering wheel, I believe. You have actual dials to control the climate control, which is nice. What's nice about this trim, however, is it does include Nissan's Surround View 360 camera with moving object detection and rear cross traffic braking. That is typically not on this on the SV trim. You have to go to the highest trim, like the Platinum, to get this, but on this trim, because it's the more off-road oriented model, Nissan does give you the 360 camera, which includes trajectory. It includes distance and parking sensors, which is nice. The resolution isn't great, and also because the screen is so small, you kind of have to squint to see, you know, what's around you. You can also go to a curb view, which is nice, or just show your front camera or your backup camera. So again, that's all relatively nice, but this screen is definitely looking a little bit small. Down here, you can see no wireless phone charging pad. Again, it's on the higher trims, but you have a storage area for your phone. You have 2 USB ports there, an A and a C. That's where you connect your phone for the CarPlay because it's not wireless. This electronic shifter here controls the 9-speed auto. There's a trigger button here that you basically have to push and then push it forward to go into reverse. You can see there's the camera. Kick it back to go into drive. There's also a manual mode as well, or push the P button to go to park. The center console here also has electronic parking brake, a little bit more storage here for your cup holders to start, stop, defeat. And then you can see your drive mode selector is here. There's 4 different modes. There's like a eco, an auto, a sport, a tow. Actually, there's like 6 different modes, I'm sorry, or 7, which again, includes some sand and mud and rut modes for those of you who plan to go off-roading. There's also a downhill assist control. The four-wheel drive system in this car is completely automatic. It can show where the power is going, either front or rear. Primarily, it tries to stay front-wheel drive to save fuel. You can see the center console lid has the Rock Creek embroidered on it, and if you open it up, there's a good amount of deep storage there, which is nice. Some piano black plastic trim. No auto-dimming rearview mirror, and like I said earlier, just incandescents for the lighting here. No panoramic sunroof is available, which gives you more headroom space, but it continues to keep this interior on the darker side. There's a little bit of a storage shelf here, and then if you open this up, the glove compartment is a bin style. It's stamped but not lined with felt. But overall, as you can see, the interior definitely feels spacious and airy and has good sight lines. However, for those of you who are looking for the latest tech, this is where the Rock Creek continues to falter there, because they don't offer a premium package. But for those of you who don't care and you just want the basics, this interior will certainly offer the comfort and the tech that most people are going to probably expect. Now, moving to the back seat, this vehicle is a mid-size family SUV, so you're probably wondering how's the space back here. Now, as you can see, the Rock Creek also comes standard with the captain's chairs. If you guys want a bench, you're gonna have to go to a different trim. This trim, again, rolls in the captain's chairs with the contrasting stitching, the two-tone black and cloth, leather and cloth material. You can see back here, the door panels are sadly hard-touch plastic, and no manual rear window sunshades. It's available on other trims, not on this trim, which is something that you get on the Pilot Trail Sport. You can see padded leather wrapped area here, big cup holders and a little bit more storage here. You can see the window controls still feel pretty high quality and tactile. And then Nissan says there's around 35.5 inches of legroom back here. Now, 35.5 is not a lot. That's actually on the small end by just the numbers. However, for somebody my height, this is where I'd have the driving position. There's a good amount of space back here, a good foot space, a completely flat floor, which is great. You also have your own set of climate controls, no heated rear seats. You can see there's buttons here where you could put that on the higher trims, but it's not included on this trim. But I like how at least you get rear seat climate controls, rear seat air vents, you get map lighting back here, some accent lighting, and then you have two storage cubbies in each of the seat back pockets. There's also a nice little center console area here, which offers cup holders and additional storage. This also will pop out if you guys want to pull this console thing out, which I can't remember how to do it at the moment, but this is removable. As you can see, it kind of wiggles a little bit when you jiggle it. These seats also recline. They slide forward and back, which gives you an adjustable amount of space. But again, 35.5 inches of legroom. The numbers are poor, but in terms of real world space, so for somebody my height, it is not bad. You can see headroom is also great considering there's no sunroof, but it is pretty dark back here, which is kind of a ding for those of you who are looking for a bright and open airy cabin. But let's go ahead and hop into the third row of this vehicle, which obviously if you remove the center console, you can get back there. But Nissan kind of took a page from Honda by just adding a little button here. If you push that button, you can see the seat catapults forward. And it's also great because if you have a child seat here, you can still keep the child seat anchored into here, and then you can get access to the third row, which is not something that every competitor offers. So it's great to see Nissan doing that. Now, in terms of the third row space, you can see it does seat 3 across, so you can find up to 8 passenger seating in this vehicle, which is nice. But as you can see as well, the space back here is not great. Now, Nissan says there's 28 inches of legroom back here. 28 inches is around 5 inches less than something like the Toyota Grand Highlander, for example. You can see I just scooted behind this seat where it's all the way back and my knees are pressed up against the seat. I have to squish my feet underneath the actual seat itself, so it's very, very tight. And I basically have to ask this passenger to move the seat forward to give me enough space to be comfortable back here. So some competitors allow you to sit all the way back in the second row and still have space for an average size adult like me. That's something like the Telluride and Palisade offers and the Grand Highlander offers, and I believe the new Pilot offers. So this is pretty comparable to something like the Mazda CX-90, although the Mazda offers even 2 more inches of legroom versus this car. In terms of visibility, you can see there is a view a little bit out of this glass window. There's rear seat vents, which is nice. You don't have any USBs back here, but you do have 2 cup holders. There's hard touch materials everywhere. Same thing back here. There's no USB areas or heated rear third row seats, but you can see because it is wide enough, you can actually fit an average sized person in this middle seat, which as you can see as I slide my foot there, if you were gonna have somebody in the middle seat here, you're gonna really need skinny passengers to get back here. But overall, if you guys need an SUV, family SUV with 3 rows of seating that can seat, 8 in a pinch, the Pathfinder can do it, but just know that a lot of competitors do offer more actual usable space in the third row. So here we are back inside the Nissan Pathfinder, the Rock Creek edition. As you guys know, the Rock Creek trim level was introduced back in 2019. It's supposed to be the more off-road capable version. The first version for the previous generation was really more of an appearance package. Nissan definitely got a little bit more serious this year with this Rock Creek edition because it has that half-inch suspension lift. It's got some Toyo open country all-terrain tires. And it also has a unique look to it. In fact, this look of this Pathfinder, I really appreciate the design of it, and it continues to be one of my favorite looking family SUVs just because it's so boxy and it's so rugged looking. It's much more masculine versus the minivan shape of the prior generation. But setting off in this Rock Creek edition, I'm kind of reminded at some of the compromises that this trim level makes. I mean, those all-terrain tires are definitely noisy. You hear them with their loud road noise that they produce because of the more aggressive tread pattern. Obviously, it's going to be better when you're off-roading, but most people are going to be spending their time on the road with this vehicle, which is precisely what we're going to do with this car. Now, the last time I 0 to 60 tested this vehicle on this same stretch, I got 6.3 seconds. Compared to the Pilot and the Telluride, the Pathfinder is the quickest option in the segment. But let's go ahead and see what we can get in this 2024 model. It's in sport mode right now. I'm going to turn off the auto start stop. We're going to brake torque it. This actually feels really fast off the line. 6.45 seconds. Remember, this car has an additional 11 horsepower and 11 pound-feet of torque compared to other trims of the Nissan Pathfinder, and 6.45 is very respectable. It's a little bit slower, up 0.1 seconds slower versus the 2023 model that I tested earlier this year on that same stretch. But again, that is still a very consistent time. This vehicle with its 295 horsepower is quicker than the Telluride X Pro and the Pilot Trail Sport. Now, I haven't had a chance to test out the Explorer Timberline. The Explorer actually makes do with a 4-cylinder turbo with 300 horsepower. But for those of you who prefer a naturally aspirated V6, Nissan does it well with their with the ZF Source 9-speed auto. They've done a lot to the programming of this transmission, so it's a really good transmission now. So let's try it here. This time I'm not going to brake torque it, we're just going to floor it. It actually spins the tires. It feels really, really quick off the line, actually. They've tuned the throttle response to be very aggressive, 6.87 seconds there, so not bad. That is a respectable time. And that's a consistent time that you're probably going to get in the 6.5-second range in real world testing, because most of you aren't going to brake torque it. That one also was more on an uphill gradient versus the more level surface on our first run. So 6.4 is a perfectly good number. And the beauty about this engine is it's smooth, it's refined, it really likes to rev. And I also appreciate the fact that this trim gets more horsepower. Now, is it actually, you know, more like horsepower in the real world? I mean, I would have to drive a Platinum or an SL trim back to back because those trims make around 284 horsepower. But in sport mode, when you put your foot down, this 9-speed, I have to say, is responsive. I remember the first iterations of this transmission, and they were garbage when they first came out, this transmission. So Nissan has done wonders with the software tuning of this transmission. Now, keep in mind, I have it in sport mode right now. It's going to be, you know, more quick to downshift and get out of its top gear to give you that additional power. This engine, because it is naturally aspirated, does require you to put your foot down and rev the engine out versus, you know, the turbo engines you're going to find, or the turbo electrified engines you're going to find in something like the Grand Highlander. Now, keep in mind, if you guys are looking for a more off-road oriented family SUV, this is one of 4. There's the Pathfinders, there's the Explorer, there's the Telluride, and then there's the Pilot. Toyota technically doesn't offer an off-roady version of the Highlander or the Grand Highlander, neither does Hyundai with the Palisade. Put your foot down here, you can feel that intelligent all-wheel drive, shifting the power side to side. And it's a really nice driving experience. I'm actually surprised because I've driven so many competitors in this space, and the Pathfinder continues to do well. It is a nice driving vehicle. It has a good ride quality, although this one here with the off-road suspension and those all-terrain tires, again, you can hear the road noise. There's a lot more road noise and tire noise. The ride is definitely on the softer side. This is no sporty vehicle. Even in sport mode, I find the ride to be very, very compliant, but also squishy. Which is fine. This is what you're expecting in a vehicle like this. And the seats in this model, these are a unique material where it's a cloth and leatherette material with the orange stitching. They're very comfortable. I can tell they're designed for wider American frames, because on road trips you're going to appreciate the feeling of that, of these seats and how you just kind of sit in them. Again, for a vehicle that also can tow up to 6,000 pounds, it's good that Nissan gave this car, you know, a V6 with nearly 300 horsepower. This is exactly the kind of acceleration that people are going to expect in a vehicle like this. And then when it comes to the handling, again, if you guys want the sportier driving Pathfinder, you probably want to go with the Platinum trim with its 20-inch wheels, but this still feels very car-like. Even though it looks very trucky on the outside with the chunky tires and the lift and whatnot, this is still a car-based SUV. So it has an all-independent suspension. It has smooth steering, which is a little bit, feels a little bit slower ratio than other Pathfinders. The vehicle doesn't really change directions when I do this. It's not very quick ratio, which is fine. Because, you know, the driving dynamics, I think, are going to suit somebody who's, you know, looking for a comfortable family hauler that can also go out on the road very easily. Now, I'll switch the drive mode here back to its auto selector. This is where the transmission will go back into its higher gears. And here we're going at almost highway speeds, and I can really hear that tire drumming. So for me personally, I might skip the Rock Creek and just, you know, change out the wheels and tires myself if you want a little bit more of an aggressive wheel. These Toyos are just really damn noisy when you're out on the road, and I think that could be a deal breaker for some because the other trims of the Pathfinder are just going to be a lot more quiet and a lot more smooth and a lot more comfortable. I also am missing the fact that this car doesn't offer a heated steering wheel, no panoramic sunroof, no power liftgate. The small 8-inch screen is definitely looking small in a world where a lot of these competitors have a 12-inch display as standard. The fact that Nissan has not put their larger 12.3-inch display in this car is a huge miss. I think the 9-inch display should be standard. Remember, the 8-inch lacks wireless CarPlay, while the 12.3 should be optional. And technically, Nissan should also expand the availability of their 12.3-inch fully digital display on other trims. You can't get it on this trim or the SL. It's only on the Platinum grade along with the ventilated seats. But in terms of fuel efficiency, in my week's worth of testing, I averaged around 19 mpg, which isn't wonderful. It does do around 400-ish miles of range on a full tank. The trip computer now is showing almost 450, but in my real-world testing, it was doing right around 400, which is fine. Remember, the Rock Creek, you're not going to get as good a fuel efficiency on the highway because of these chunky tires, and the best that I could do is around 24 mpg at best. That is a little bit less versus the 25 that Nissan is claiming on the Platinum with its 20-inch wheels. It would be great to see Nissan offer this vehicle as a hybrid, but again, currently there are no plans of a hybrid model, which is something that I think Nissan, again, has a missed opportunity. Technically, the Grand Highlander and the Mazda CX-90 are the only ones that offer some kind of electrification, with the Mazda giving us the only plug-in hybrid option, I believe, in the segment until if Toyota decides to do a plug-in hybrid of the Grand Highlander. But overall, you know, compared to all the competitors, the Pathfinder just feels like an honest option. It has very average acceleration, or actually above average acceleration. It's very average interior finishings. The space is average. The technology is average, but it also is very free of annoyances. And I think that's really where, you know, a vehicle like this is going to shine. But overall, I think that Nissan really needs to upgrade the tech. They need to offer a premium package on the Rock Creek. And then for those of you who actually plan to use this more as a family vehicle, I would just say skip this trim because of the noisy tires that are on it, and just go for an SL or a Platinum trim. But just keep in mind that those trims are going to be far more expensive. And if you guys want the off-road look of your family SUV, the Pathfinder Rock Creek is about $5,000 to $10,000 less expensive than all of its other direct rivals. So after spending a full week with the latest 2024 Nissan Pathfinder Rock Creek, as you guys know, there are so many options out there that there really isn't a bad choice out there anymore. However, the Nissan Pathfinder continues to be a solidly mid-pack choice. When I first had a chance to drive this vehicle about 2 years ago, I was impressed with the overall redesign. I think Nissan has produced a much better looking car, a more practical car that offers more tech. What it's really lacking, however, is some form of electrification. There is no hybrid option. The screen is definitely starting to look a little bit small, and I'm not entirely sure I would particularly choose the Rock Creek trim. I mean, sure, it's definitely the best looking Pathfinder, but it's sorely lacking in some premium tech features that I think a lot of buyers are looking for, such as the power liftgate, the panoramic sunroof, the heated steering wheel, the larger 9-inch display with wireless CarPlay. This again has CarPlay, but you have to use it through a wired connection, and you also can't get the Bose premium stereo system. For me personally, if I was going to choose a Pathfinder, I'd probably look at the SL trim and just add the premium package, or if you guys want to go all out, you can go for the Platinum trim, but that's going to cost you considerably more money. In terms of acceleration, the V6 engine in this vehicle is perfectly adequate. 0 to 60 in the mid 6.5 second range is very respectable. This is actually quicker than a lot of its competition, and the 9-speed auto has been tuned much better for this application, even though the ZF had a lot of clunky shifting problems when this transmission first came out nearly a decade ago. I think Nissan has done a good job, and it's certainly a better option versus the old Pathfinder, which had a CVT. I think if Nissan wants to continue to keep the Pathfinder more competitive, I would like to see them add their larger 12.3-inch display. I'd like to see them expand the availability of the fully digital instrument cluster and ventilated seats. You shouldn't have to go for the highest platinum trim to get those touches. And they also really need to add a premium package to the Rock Creek trim that rolls in some of those features that I mentioned that it was lacking. But because it's lacking those features, the benefit about the Rock Creek is it is cheaper versus a lot of its direct rivals. I'm talking about cars like the Honda Pilot Trail Sport, the Kia Telluride X-Pro, and the Ford Explorer Timberline. If you guys want a Pathfinder, the base S with front-wheel drive starts at just under $36,000. Add $2,000 if you guys want all-wheel drive. Most of you are going to go to the SV trim. That's around $40,000 with all-wheel drive. This particular trim here starts at $43,660, so it's about $3,000 more versus a comparable SV with all-wheel drive. Remember, the SV is optional with all-wheel drive. The Rock Creek comes standard with all-wheel drive. Add basically the destination charge, the extra charge for this paint color, and my tester here comes to $45,305. So $45,000 is certainly a reasonable amount of money considering these vehicles have well crossed the $50,000, even approaching the $60,000 mark. However, if you guys are looking at competitors, a Pilot Trail Sport's about $5,000 more. Telluride X-Pro is about $5,000 more, $10,000 more if you go to the Prestige package. And an Explorer is around $5,000 to $10,000 more as well. So Nissan is keeping it simple, and they also are keeping the price down, but you do have to make that compromise with the lack of some of those upscale features. My money, again, I would go for the SL with the premium package and spend around $48,000. A fully loaded Platinum is around $52,000, which is right around the norm for a fully loaded version of a 3-row SUV. But with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the 2024 Nissan Pathfinder. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.